Good afternoon. My name's Peter Buckingham. I'm the Managing Director of Spectrum Analysis. I'm doing this webinar to show you our new mapping that's come on since the 2021 census has been released, and we combine this with a lot of information from ACARA to make it much more beneficial for you to use. Whether you use the mapping through Spectrum Analysis or through Somerset Education, GeoMapping Plus, the same mapping will be available. So hopefully stick with me and I'll show you how it works on your system. Okay, we're looking at our typical mapping, which starts off with layers and legend. So the legend is showing, nothing has changed in that area. The layers are the most important changes, and I'm going to start off by talking about the schools. The first thing we touch on is information we've now put in on every school. And I'll give you an example. This is Trinity Grammar in Sydney. We've started off by the school, their website, what type of campus it is. So this is their headquarters. It's an independent school, it's combined. And then we're able to look at the full-time teaching, the part-time teaching, and how many students. We also have a ratio here so you can compare the ratio between number of enrolments and number of full-time teaching staff. We've then brought on the enrolment numbers. So starting from 2008, we can see how many students they had then, and this is ACARA data, right through to current. And we can see how that's changed year by year and how it's changed over the 13-year period. So they're up 10.8%. The last part of this is in the My Schools data, we have an estimate of fees. It's an average fee where schools report how many students they have and how much money they collect from students, and they divide one by the other. So it's indicative to at least compare apples to apples. So this is now available for every school you may want to see. This one here is a small Catholic school. 347 students. So all the Catholic ones are the red, and the green ones are, of course, the government schools. So again, lower fees, 414 students. You can see the details, including that ratio. So you're now able to do some comparisons of your school to any other ones you want to see. Our mapping's now also got our CEFA. That's been there for a long time. And CEFA stands for SocioEconomic Index for areas. So I'm just letting that set down. Again, across Sydney, we can see the top 20% is the dark blue. We open the score. Mr. and Mrs. Average in Australia live in about 1004 is their CEFA score. The top areas, the dark blue areas, we're seeing numbers like 1100s. The light blue areas, Dulwich, we're seeing numbers like 1,078. The white areas, a bit over 1,000. Probably if I come out a bit further on some of those, I'll get nearer 1,000, 1,018. The light brown pink areas are 999, and then the lowest socio-economic is here. So this is Australia-wide, but Sydney actually has quite a lot. Average is much higher in Sydney than the rest of Australia. And in fact, if Australia is 1004, Sydney is about, I recall, about 1030. The more important things that many of you want to see is the demographics. So I'm going to start off here by showing you demographics from 2016. So we can look at any area of what it was in 2016. And just by changing it, noting that's brown, and just by changing over to 2021, we can look at the green. The green areas are the current. So let's start off by what's the population, what's the average household income. We've then set up population to look at 0 to 5, preschool, 6 to 12, primary school, 13 to 18, which I'll call secondary school, 19 to 24, tertiary, best estimate, and then we go through to 20 to 65 plus. The second thing we're finding here is how many children go to school and what do they report type of school they go to. So in the census, you are asked whether you go to government school, Catholic school or independent, whether you're at primary school or secondary school, and it reports these numbers. Now, we find these very interesting when we then look at the percentages for a specific area. What percentage go to government school, what percentage go to Catholic, and what percentage go to independent, and how this often moves from primary to secondary. Now, that one's got me a little bit surprised that there's only 2.2% of secondary independent. Let me just take another area. Fairly low socioeconomic, 7.1% are at independent secondary school. But if we go over to a much more higher socioeconomic area, we'll use over here, we're seeing numbers like 66% at independent, 45% at independent primary, 66 independent secondary. And I think the one that normally wins the award is Vaucluse, and it's at 77%. Now we can very quickly just have a look to see if that's 51 and 77. What did it look like off the previous census? We just jump back one, put that on, and then bring the same area up. So it was actually at 81% in the previous census. So it's gone down a bit on number going to independent schools. Okay, so the last part of that segment I want to just touch on and stick with Vaucluse is what is the ethnicity of the area? And the best way we judge ethnicity is language spoken at home. So a lot of English, a bit of Chinese, not much else. Let me take us over and have another look back over in these areas. Very quickly coming down, well, 71% English, not much else. So it's still a fairly English-speaking area. We're coming down in around the inner Roselands. And we're seeing much more, 38% language English, 16% Arabic, 24% other. You get the feeling of what the ethnicity of the area is pretty quickly. Okay, the next part I want to touch is what has happened over the years with, call it longitudinal look at an area. So what we're doing here, I'm right now looking at primary government students. In 2006, how many are in the area? 2011, 1621. And what does this represent as a percentage of total students, primary students at that point at each of those points in time? And how has this grown over time? So we can see that's grown a little bit. I'll come to an easier area, a different type of area. Again, it's very consistent. Not much growth. In fact, it looks like it's gone backwards in the last 5 years of the number of children that go to independent primary school at primary level government. Let's just have a look at independent school secondary, probably the one most of you are interested in. Somewhere like Dulwich Hill, we can see it's actually grown from 354 to 485. But percentage-wise, obviously the population's probably grown. That stayed fairly constant over the time. Okay, the next thing I want to touch on is total population projections. So again, for any area, we can look at what we're expecting the population to be based on the data 2017 to 2032. It's going out, this area is increasing by 14.7%. Now, let me look at the same area in terms of school-aged children. We can actually see how many 0 to 4, 5 to 11, 12 to 18, and 15, and all up school children. And we can see how this is going to increase. So about 778 more kids will be going to school from that area in 2032 than there were in 2022. Now, let's just go over to one of the really high growth areas. I'll just see if I can pick up Marsden Park, which is out here. Give you an idea, this area is going to grow from just under 10,000 school-aged children to 21,000. Well, there'll be 11,000 more school children there in 10 years' time. So it really talks about where the schools are needed to go. Now, again, this is ABS federal data published in 2019 based off the 2016 census. There is no newer data at this point in time, but it lets us look at every area of what's going to happen, and including areas that are actually expected to drop. Windsor Bly Park will probably drop from about 2,600 school-aged children to 2,500. Not much, but down a little bit. Definitely a big offset compared to Marsden Park. We've then put in some things on religion. I'll just touch, we've done Anglican, Catholic, and we called it total Christianity. We look at these areas and we're seeing, again, 2016, 2021, what are the changes and what are the percentages? And we know a lot less people reported that they're religious this census than the previous one. Let's just jump across to the Islamic ones. They probably do report, are more likely to report if you're Islamic, that you attend religious. So I'll touch in on some of these areas that are very known to be fairly strongly religious. So somewhere like Auburn, well, it's 50%. It used to be 50, it's now 44%. They're saying they're Islamic. You can see the numbers here, and part of that's due to the total number that reported religion. But it's actually gone down a little bit. Looking at other areas, again, 23, 25%, 30% quite common in these areas. And in a lot of these high growth ones, head back up towards Marsden Park. Oh, it's only 2. Now it's at 7% Islamic. So you get a feel of what these areas are doing. Okay, so we've also picked up the Hindu, Jewish, Buddhism, and other religions, and hopefully we can get a good feel of what the religious faith of the area is. So look, I'm going to stop at that point. Hopefully this gives you a quick way of looking at our new web-based mapping, and you now know that it actually has all the data reflecting from the 2021 census and all the data to do with the population projections 2017 to 2032, and hopefully you can use that to help understand what's happening in your area. It's Peter Buckingham. Thank you very much. Feel free to ring myself or Spectrum Analysis if there's anything we can do to help you. Take care.
Thank you for watching this Spectrum Analysis video. For more information, contact us via email spectrum@spectrumanalysis.com.au, by phone +613 9830 0077, or subscribe or follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook or Twitter. Thanks.